Welcome back. This is the second homework video for August 20th of 2020. So I left you with solving this problem. Hopefully you came up with the fact that LCD has to be 6. Okay, don't just automatically multiply all the denominators like 3 times 2 times 2, because if you just do that, you're going to end up with 12, which is, if you just multiply both sides by 12, yes, it would eventually cancel out, and you will get the answer too. However, it will be far easier if you recognize that 6 is the even smaller number that is divisible by both 3, 2, and another 2. Okay? And then hopefully you should have gotten x to be 3 as your final answer. Okay, let's try another problem. Okay, so in this case, look what's happening. We have 4x divided by 3 plus 3x divided by 2 is equal to 17 over 6. We have x terms on both of these two terms, right? If we were just trying to add these, yes, we could do addition of fractions, but it gets a little bit more complicated. But we could multiply by LCD to make it simpler. Okay, so what would be the LCD? Well, we have 3 times 2 is 6. Okay, is the third number divisible by the 6 that we just came up with? Yes, it is. So LCD is 6. Okay, so in this case, we're going to multiply both the left-hand side and right-hand side by 6. So you have 6 times 4x over 3 plus 6 times 3x over 2 is equal to 6 times 17 over 6. From here, I can start cancelling out to make my math easier. 6 divided by 3 just becomes 2. 6 divided by 2 becomes 3. And 6 divided by 6 just becomes 1. So you're left with 2 times 4x, which is 8x, plus 3 times 3x is 9x, is equal to 1 times 17 is just 17. And 8x plus 9x, we know it's 17x, is equal to 17. So you're going to divide both sides by 17, which becomes giant 1, and you are left with x is equal to just positive 1. That's your final answer. Okay, your turn. Try to solve this problem. X over 2 minus 5x over 6 is equal to 1/9. Okay, please pause the video. And if you get stuck, I'm going to give you a clue. Alright, so what would be the LCD? Probably the easiest thing is to start by looking at the biggest denominator and start sort of doubling or tripling and see, okay, if I multiply by, 9 times 2, well, is 2 divisible by 9? No. Is 6 divisible by 9? No. Okay, what if I multiply it by 2? 9 times 2 is 18, right? Is 18 divisible by 2? Yes. Is 18 divisible by 6? Yes, because 6 times 3 is 18. So LCD is 18. And once you've solved it, hopefully you should get x is negative 1/3. That should be your final answer. Okay? Alright. Okay, so hopefully you're starting to get the hang of fraction busting. We're going to tackle the decimal busting. And decimal busting is really pretty much the same thing as fraction busting, but just dealing with in terms of tens. So what do? We look for the decimal with the most digits. That means after the decimal points, which is the coefficient or constant with most digits afterwards. Okay, in this case we have 0 digits afterwards. After the decimal place here, we have 1 digit here after decimal place. And in here we have 2 digits, 6 and 5. Right? So we have 2 here, so that means that is the smallest value that we go to. So we have 2 decimal places. That means we're going to multiply both sides by 100. Why do we do that? When we multiply by 100, then we have 2 zeros here. That means I can move the decimal place to the right by 2 places. Okay, so then that will become 965. 3.1 multiplied by 100 will be 310, and 100 times x will be 100x. Right? So we're multiplying both sides by the equation by the power of 10. So power of 10 means numbers like 10, 100, 1000, 10,000, and so on and so forth, depending on how many decimal places that you have. Let's look at this one. The second problem, we have one decimal place here and another decimal place here. That means we just have 1 is the most decimal place that we still have, because they all have just 1. So we just need to multiply by 10. Remember, 1 decimal place means 10. 2 decimal place means 20 or 100. 1 decimal place means 10. In this case, we have the biggest coefficient with the decimal place is not, we have 2 here, we have 3 here, and another 3 here. So we have 3 decimal places. That means we need to multiply by with 3 zeros or 1000, because when we do that, the decimal place is going to move 3 places to the right. 1, 2, 3, and it's going to be left with 74 here. Okay, let's try some problems. Okay, so for example, when you look at this equation, okay, which is the decimal, which is the term with the most decimal digits? We have 1 decimal place here, another decimal place here, but we have 2 decimal places with this coefficient, right? So that means we need to multiply both sides by number with 2 zeros, which is 100. So we are going to multiply both sides by 100. And then if I multiply the first term by 100, I can just move the decimal place 2 places to the right and end up with 25x. And for the second term, 100 times 0.6. Okay, we need to move the decimal place 2 places. If there is no number there, we need to add a 0. So this becomes 60. And again, 2 decimal place, but there's no number there, so we need to add a 0 here, and that becomes 10. And from here, you just solve as a 2-step equation, subtract 60, and then divide both that number by 25, and you get x to be -2. Okay? Alright, so let's try. Okay, so this is the last set of guided practice problem, and you'll have one more practice try yours on problem for you to do. So you have 1.3. So how many decimal places do we have? We have 1 digit here. Do we have any digits after this? 2 is a whole number, so we have 0 here. And here we only have 1 as well. So 1 is the most we have. That means we're going to multiply the left-hand side by 10 and right-hand side by 10. So 10 times 1.3 minus 10 times 2d is equal to 2.7 times 10. Okay? Alright, 10 times 1.3. That just means I need to notice that I have 1 0 here, so I need to move this 1 place, and you're going to end up with 13. Okay, minus, what's 10 times 2? That's just 20. Don't forget the variable. Is equal to 2.7 times 10. We just need to move the decimal place by 1. So that leaves with us with 27. Now we can subtract 13 from both sides. And that leaves us with 20d is equal to 27 minus 13 is 14. So then we are going to divide both sides by -20. And that cancels out. And you're left with d is equal to 14 divided by 20. Can we simplify this any further? Yes, we can, because they're both even, we can both divide both numerator and denominator by 2. So that becomes 7 over 10. And that's my final answer. Okay, and I have to not lose my negative sign here. Okay. Alright, you could have also represented this as 0, d is equal to 0, negative 0.7. That would have also worked as well. Okay, this time it's your turn to try this problem. Then looking at the digits, how many, which is the one with the most decimal digits? How many digits is that? So by what number, in the tens, is it multiplied by 10, by 100, or 1000, and so on. Okay, so what should I be multiplying by? You figure that out, and the answer to this problem should be negative 15 over 21. X is equal to, okay, please pause the video and see if you can come to this answer as well. Okay, that's it for now. There is a worksheet that you need to complete. There's only 7 problems, so you should be able to finish this pretty quickly, and then you'll be done. Okay, have a great weekend.